The Institute for the Study of War, citing an insider source in the Kremlin, claims that Putin allegedly gave Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu a deadline of 1 month until early October 2023 to improve the situation at the front, stop Ukrainian counteroffensives, and return the initiative to Russian troops. This may indicate the Russian military command's desire to bring the Ukrainian counteroffensive to a climax, even if it comes at a high cost to Russian capabilities. Putin and the Kremlin present Russian defensive operations as a major victory on the battlefield. And the constant Russian counterattacks allow the Kremlin to claim that these operations are isolated victories amid the overall lack of Russian success on other parts of the front. These efforts are likely intended to undermine support and confidence in Ukrainian forces in Ukraine and in the West. However, this information campaign can only succeed in the long run if Russian troops are able to actually prevent Ukrainian forces from breaking through and liberating large areas. Natalia Gumenchuk, head of the Joint Press Center of the Joint Forces Operations South, called the unrealistic tasks that Russian dictator Vladimir Putin demonstratively sets for the head of the Russian Defense Ministry Sergei Shoigu. The abdication of responsibility for the failures at the front. Experts continue to believe that the Russian armed forces do not have sufficient forces deployed in Ukraine's western Zaporizhia region to fully man their echelon defense. However, it remains unclear how mined and well-prepared Russian positions south of the current combat zone are, the analysts add. Alexander Stupin, spokesman for the Joint Press Center of the Tarai Defense Forces, said that Russians regularly bring reserves to the Melitopol area to stop the Ukrainian army's advance. However, the Ukrainian army regularly destroys enemy equipment. The occupiers continue to dig in deeper into the defense, reinforce their facilities in engineering terms. Mines are being detected, and the Russians are trying to regain lost ground. They are sending infantry forward and probing the Ukrainian defense in certain areas. The Ukrainian armed forces operations in the Bakhmut area constrained Russian troops in eastern Ukraine and far from the southern front, and helped prevent the creation of a strategic reserve for the occupiers. Russian invaders are unable to form additional forces and are forced to redeploy their reserves due to simultaneous counteroffensives by the Ukrainian military in the area of Bakhmut and in the south of the country. It is difficult for the enemy to hold back the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Tom Cooper, a military analyst, describes the situation this way. The Ukrainian offensive may not have advanced by hundreds of kilometers, but it has been extremely effective in defeating the remnants of the Russian armed forces. So much so that Putin and his stupid commanders in Moscow have no strategic options left. Their troops have been defeated, and their trained reserves have been depleted to the point where they are no longer able to conduct even a local offensive. They are only able to replenish their ranks, only to be shot by whole mobs again. Analyzing the counteroffensive on the Zaporizhia front, Tom Cooper noted that at the rate the superbrains of Moscow's dumbass commanders are squandering airborne troops in the Robotynovo-Bubnovo-Prokopivka area, there will soon be no paratroopers left. And this is long before the wet season, which, by the way, is not so bad in that part of Ukraine. On the southern front of the Zaporizhia direction, probably guided by the urgent need to feed Putin good news, Moscow's dumbass commanders did not just move these troops to the defense line to replace the mangled units of the 58th Combined Arms Army. No, they sent them on a major counterattack. The idea, or so it seems, was obviously to cover the cauldron or ledge created by the Ukrainian infiltration south of the minefields, between Robotyne and Verbov, to simultaneously enter the eastern and western flanks of the Ukrainian army, and thus knock out about 4 brigades, to finish off the Ukrainian offensive, which, as they report to Putin, failed long ago. The fact is that it did not work. The Russians not only lost most of the 810th Marine Brigade, but also lost 3 regiments of airborne troops, almost an entire division. They suffered such losses that what remained of the 2 regiments mentioned above scattered and fled. So much so that the 118th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the unit that suffered so much during its first attack in this operation, back in August, pushed them back to their original positions. This was east of Robotyne and north of Verbov. To the west of Robotyne, the 47th Mech Brigade is still clearing the battlefield, but it is doing so about 1,000 meters from the village. The battle started about 300 meters west of there, which is 700 meters from where the Ukrainians are now. And just think, 100 meters in this battle is days of fighting. This is the crux of the reason why it looked like the Ukrainian armed forces had not made any serious gains in the past few weeks. They were busy allowing the Russians to bleed out the best of their units. In this footage, you can see the Ukrainian Armed Forces Marichka multi-purpose underwater drone. The drone has just entered a phase of regular testing and will soon be terrorizing the Russian fleet in the Black Sea or anywhere else in the world. This drone, entirely developed by Ukraine, is difficult to detect because it is an underwater vehicle. The Marichka can be used as a kamikaze drone for ships or bridge pylons, as a cargo vehicle, or even for reconnaissance missions. According to statistics published by official Kiev and compiled by a gentleman from Germany, here, every month for the past 4 months, the Ukrainian armed forces have destroyed more Russian artillery than in the first 4 months of this year combined. A Ukrainian drone operator from the Hormy Group unit spotted 3 Russian tanks in the Zaporizhzhia sector. A more detailed analysis showed that these were inflatable models placed close to the line to attract attacks from Ukrainian artillery and kamikaze drones. The attempt was unsuccessful. The Ukrainian armed forces are engaged in a systematic, large-scale, gradual destruction of the Russian armed forces. They are eliminating Russian air defense, electronic warfare systems, their artillery, logistics, tanks, and hundreds of Russian servicemen every day. And they advance only when it is expedient. And when the Russians pull up even more is destroyed, in large quantities. Tom Cooper believes that this is the only correct indicator for assessing this offensive and, as has been explained many times, the only way out of this war.